6 years ago, if you would have told me that I need to be reading fiction, I would have told you, no, go home, leave me alone, because I like to read self-development and business books. Now, that's not so much the case, because for the last 6 months, I have been consuming fiction the same way a dad consumes ice cream because he has sympathy cravings while his wife is the one who's pregnant. That might just be a me thing. These 6 books are the books that I would personally recommend. I would take them, shove them into your chest and say, go on, Davey, you need to go read this book. Starting with number 1. Boom! That was my cat. She also likes reading Blackest Night. We're starting off with a comic book because I think that when people think of comic books or manga, they think of it as something that's like super intimidating to get into, and to be honest, it can be. And specifically with a universe like DC, this company has 100 years of character arcs and stories and colorful pages. I love this comic book so much. My brother recommended this to me. I'm recommending this to you. If you don't want to jump into a 500-page fiction book and you want something that still has some pictures but some words, I mean, look at this art. Look at that. I would argue that the Blackest Night saga is probably one of the best places to get started in, and I am not a comic book junkie. This is literally the reboot of the universe, so if you want to jump into a place that's kind of restarting from the ground up, Blackest Night is the way to go. My second book is Tuesdays with Morrie. This is nonfiction, yes. But holy smokes, if you want a book that you can read in a sitting, and I do mean a literal sitting because I have like the reading level of a 3rd grader. I'm gonna give myself a little bit more credit. I think I read a little bit higher, probably closer to like a 5th grader. But Tuesdays with Morrie is the first book that I've ever read by Mitch Albom, and this book is such a grounded story from a real life experience with Mitch, where he recounts the moments with his former professor, Morrie. His professor, Morrie, is struggling with ALS. It is a horrible, debilitating disease. It's something that you wouldn't wish upon like your worst enemy. And so Mitch's teacher, Morrie, is fighting his battle with ALS, and every Tuesday, Mitch and Morrie get together, and Mitch will ask questions of Morrie, of his thoughts and his philosophies around certain aspects of life. One Tuesday, he's talking about regrets with Morrie, and then the next one, they talk about death. The next one, they talk about family. The next one, they talk about forgiveness. It's different when you hear it from a man who was healthy and was very involved with his like students and his community and was just overall a happy-go-lucky person, to then hear how he slowly starts to lose his ability to physically interact with the world that he once loved. This is a book that I think will really snap you back to reality. If you're wanting just a short reset, his chapters are not long. The margins are thicker than the burgers that I grill on 4th of July. I mean, it's a quick book, it's a quick read, it's a beautiful story, and I think that most people who haven't read in a while, or most people who are sick and tired of self-development, will love a book like this. The next book is, boom! Counting Miracles. Now this book is an intense thriller. In fact, it's not a horror book. This is a romance book, and I would have never thought that I would have ever in my life picked up a romance book, because society and our culture kind of paints romance books as like something that's strictly made for or written for women. But I think there's a lot, especially for dudes out there who are like, I'm a freaking alpha male, bro. I'm a self-development guy. I don't need to learn about relationships. I don't need to learn about how to treat women well. That's your mindset. I'm gonna pin a little red flag on ya, ship you off to boarding school and say, peace out, Davey, because no, I think that tons of men can learn from romance books, but specifically this one. This book follows kind of 3 different perspectives. So it follows the perspective of Tanner, who grew up in the military world. His grandfather was in the military. He's in the military. And he's kind of like a rolling stone. He doesn't like to settle down. He doesn't know why he doesn't like to settle down, but he doesn't like to. And he ends up going to this town and meeting a girl named Caitlin, who's a single mom, a doctor. I mean, dude, like, she's got no red flags. Like, she's kind of dope. I like her a lot. And Jasper, which is, funny enough, the name of my son, so of course that has a special place in my heart. But in this book, Jasper's an old man, and he hangs out with his dog Arlo. Arlo's freaking badass, by the way. Such a cool dog. And it's cool because over the course of this book, these three people's lives kind of start to culminate and cross paths to what I think is such a beautiful, like, final climax of the story. Counting Miracles is a great book to kind of get into the habit of reading a little bit more fiction. And who knows, maybe you might pick up a thing or two from Tanner on how to pick up chicks. Probably not, but you might. Next up, Dark Matter. I did a video on this, check it out somewhere. This book was one of the first sci-fi books I've ever picked up. If you're looking for something fun, something tense, especially, I think, and I will say this, for men who are either wanting to start a family, who have started a family, or are married just in general, this book is gonna hit you hard. Basically, as a 10,000 foot view, this book follows a man named Jason Dessen, who in his life is a family man. He is a genius, he's a science genius, but instead of pursuing his career, he decides to forego his career to raise his son and focus on his marriage. The thing that got me on this book was this line right here, and it was in quotations, "Are you happy with your life?" And it says, those are the last words that Jason Dessen hears before the kidnapper knocks him unconscious. Essentially, Jason wakes up and all of a sudden, like, his life is not the life that he was living. Like, in this world or this reality or whatever you want to call it that he wakes up in, he is somebody who did not pursue the family life. In fact, he's a well-renowned genius, and he's like starting to like question reality. He's like, was the world that I lived in with my family, was that reality, or is this reality and I'm just dreaming, or I'm on drugs or something? Like, that whole concept, and then the way it unravels and the way it just breaks down anything that you were expecting. Dark Matter is a sci-fi that I think will stick with you for years to come. My next book is gonna be Revival. Stop focusing on my face. Revival by Stephen King. Now, when I think of horror, or I think of just scary movies in general, the thing that I hate the most about scary movies is the fact that they always give away kind of the big bad, the big monster, the big scare right at the beginning. This book does not do that. It's almost like a modern day Frankenstein, a modern day Frankenstein story, like retelling, except it just, the way Stephen King approaches the concept of revival is beautiful. It's so freaking cool. It's creepy. Like, this is a book, I finished reading it, I put it down on my nightstand and I stared at the ceiling for like an hour, just thinking about like the concepts and the characters and the journey that the main character Jamie kind of went through. The overall concept, this book follows a man, a boy initially, then a man, called Jamie Morton. And it follows him and his former pastor. Is it a pastor? What did I call him in my notes? His former minister, Charles Jacobs. And it follows them not just in a single moment in Jamie's life, but throughout his entire life, from childhood up until he's an elderly, older man. This book follows Jamie Morton and Charles Jacobs as they cross paths, and Charles Jacobs is experimenting. He's a weirdo. He's kind of obsessed with electricity. And it follows him as he experiments with what he calls secret electricity. And the experiments that Charles Jacobs conducts over the course of decades gets creepier and creepier and creepier up until the final culmination where you're like, dude. And Stephen King's tough because his endings don't always land. They don't always land. I'm a big endings guy. I think that if a story is like 90% awesome and at the very end you flub the ending, it kind of ruins the whole experience for me. That's how I felt about The Long Walk. Don't be a hater. But this book, I think that Stephen King crushes it from beginning to end. The build-up, the suspense, the tenseness, the experiments, the relationship between Charles and Jamie. You read this book and you're just like, what happened? So if you're wanting something that's going to start off with messing you up for the rest of your life, this book's not going to do that, but it's pretty good. It's really good. So you should check it out. And finally, book have powers. Book have powers in it, AJ like. Book have powers, AJ obsessed. Dude, I saw this book on a YouTube channel. Then I found out that Brandon Sanderson is from my beautiful, massive, bustling state of Nebraska. Most of you probably don't know where that's at. Brandon Sanderson is from Lincoln, Nebraska. So I was like, okay, cool. Author from my hometown, gotta pick it up. Read it, obsessed, already on book 3 of the trilogy. If you're somebody who just loves like action and powers and like connivingness and, is that a word? And heists and betrayal and overthrowing governments and just like absolute badassery, this freaking book is the book that you need to pick up. Put down Leaders Eat Last, put down Think and Grow Rich, read this freaking book, because fantasy can be super overwhelming to get into because you initially have to like learn the world and learn the characters and the powers or the lore behind it. Brandon Sanderson will literally sit you down in this book, and for the first like 60 pages, he holds your hand like you're a 5-year-old trying to cross a street, chasing after ice cream, but you don't realize that there's a ton of traffic coming left and right to you. I mean, Brandon Sanderson does such a good job of just like holding your hand, teaching you about the world, the powers, making it so simple that my cat could understand it. I'm obsessed with this book. But if you're looking for a fantasy book to get into, Brandon Sanderson, Mistborn, The Final Empire is the way to go. I'm a Sanderson fanboy for life. And Brandon, if you're ever back in Nebraska, probably never going to see this video, but if you ever want to grab a drink, smoke a cigar, hang out with your boy, let me know, because I would love to fanboy over you and just have you be enormously uncomfortable with me doing that and me going home and telling my wife that I met Brandon Sanderson. So those are the top 6 books that I would recommend to any dude, any person who's tired of self-development or just wants to get back into reading in general. I loved them, and again, I am not a critical reader. I read book for fun. So book entertain me. If book entertain me, I like. If I like, I give 5 stars. Me dumb, me like simple book, me like book with powers, me like good book. So if you like good book, you want read, you check it out, all right? If you like this video, leave a comment down below. Let me know if you've read any of those 6 books, if you like them. And if you want to like this video or subscribe, that's your prerogative. You do you, dude. You do you, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.